Gives me great pleasure now to present a vote of thanks this evening, the former Premier of the State of New South Wales, the Honourable Barrie Unsworth. Ladies and gentlemen, my task is simple. On your behalf, I have to thank all of those who have preceded me in this historic event. Tonight we're able to witness the launch of Advocates for Dignity. And Mehmet Saral has explained to us the purpose of the establishment of the organisation and the work that has to be done. It's an organisation which will provide information to the Australian community of contemporary events in Turkey. At the outset, Stephen Black from Civil Liberties indicated that we should pay respect to the original owners of this land. I think we sometimes forget the fact that all of us are settlers in Australia. If you walk around the corner, you'll see a spot where 230 years ago, Captain Arthur Phillip and the First Fleet raised the British flag. So that's a short time in the history of mankind. The fact that we've only been here in this land for 230 years, whereas the original settlers have been here for 40,000 years. So I think all of us as Australians have to share life together. Now, I'm probably one of the oldest people in the room. I'm in my 84th year. So I've seen Australia change from an Anglo-Celtic society before World War II into a multicultural society. And some 30 years ago I had the privilege of serving as this state's Minister for Ethnic Affairs. So I've had a fair bit to do with the various communities who've come to make up Australia today. I well recall at the end of World War II, the people who came here from Eastern Europe, the Latvians, Lithuanians, Estonians, who wanted to find a new life in this country. And then subsequently, as a result of upheaval in other countries, in Hungary, Czechoslovakia, in Vietnam, in Lebanon, people came as refugees from those countries to settle in Australia. And they were welcomed, and they form an important part of Australian society today. Now, of course, Stephen points out that things have changed, and the current Conservative government is not as welcoming as governments in earlier times of people in need. But quite clearly, from what we've heard tonight, there are people in Turkey who are in significant need. I was last in Turkey 5 years ago, and at that time there were people who were unhappy with the administration of the Erdogan government, and they were having demonstrations in Taksim Square. And when I was in Anatolia, people that I was talking to down there were going up to demonstrate. In 2005, when Erdogan came here as Prime Minister, they must have been short of people to meet him because they included me in the delegation. And I had the opportunity at close hand to view Erdogan and his cabinet. And I could see what was happening there. The younger people sitting closest to the Prime Minister appeared to me to be quite traditional. The secular members of the delegation were further down the queue, and I would suggest that today they're probably not in the queue at all. But I could see from Erdogan's demeanour that he was one tough cookie, and he certainly proved that in the way he's now treating his own community, the people in his society. Now, we've had the privilege tonight to hear from Professor Paul Weller and Dr. Sophia Pandya about the Hizmet organisation and the work that they have observed of Hizmet's work throughout the world. I had the opportunity some years ago at the movie theatre just close by to see the movie Love is a Verb, and that explained to us what Hizmet meant, what Hizmet was doing. And it was significant to me because at that time in that movie, Hizmet was working in Bosnia-Herzegovina. And I had been to Sarajevo in times before the war and appreciated the significance of that location. But the upheaval that occurred there involving the three separate faiths was horrific. And it was really impressive for me to see Hizmet working there to help people who are in need. So in that sense, that movie demonstrated to me the great value of Hizmet, of the work of Gulen in many countries in the world. Tonight we've heard about the work in Nigeria and Iraq, and we understand the significance of Fethullah Gulen's work. So I think it's a great opportunity for us tonight to appreciate what we have to do in Australia to make the Australian society understand the serious problems that are currently occurring in Turkey. A lot of young people think Turkey is some sort of a holiday. They go there on the 25th of April to celebrate. There's nothing there to celebrate. I've been there and I've seen the monument there and the words of Kemal Ataturk, who was a great healer. And the work that Ataturk did in Turkey in establishing a secular society was of great benefit to those who lived there and those who went there. I mean, my great uncle was there. He spent 4 months there and at least he got out alive, but he only lasted 2 days in Belgium and went down on the second day of the Battle of Passchendaele. So in Australia, unfortunately, people think of war and where wars have taken youngsters from this country. And as a result, we have the wrong approach to Turkey. I mean, Turkey has been a civilization that has existed for eons, and my Christian friend down here will appreciate that I'm always interested to find out where St Paul is every week. And if he's in Ephesus or if he's in Corinth or wherever he is, I mean, if you look at the travels of St Paul, he travelled throughout that region spreading his message. He didn't last too long at Ephesus because he was too much competition for the goldsmiths. Every night we're confronted on our television with scenes of horror, horror that's occurring in places like Syria right at this very moment. And we are concerned here in Australia with terrorism. We've had it in Martin Place, and therefore there is a concern amongst many Australians about our relationship with Islam and people from that part of the world, so that it's incumbent on organisations like Advocates for Dignity to make clear to the Australian community that we all must live together. We all must follow in the teachings of Fethullah Gulen, where he talks about love and tolerance. And really, if we're going to survive in this country, we're all going to have to be together in a multicultural society. And we've got to appreciate the diversity of that society. So I'd just like to say that tonight the speakers have given us a great insight into the events that have happened in Turkey, the implications that flow from them, and the fact that we all have a common interest in understanding what is happening in Turkey and appreciating that it's our responsibility to work with organisations such as Advocates for Dignity and try and help people such as the gentleman who has spoken before, who fortunately came here. But when you hear about people being drowned only this month trying to escape from the terrors of Erdogan's government, clearly we have to get the message out amongst Australians, and we have to ensure that there's an appreciation that here in our society we have people who need help. They need help, and they need it right now. So I think we're all indebted to the organisers of Advocates for Dignity for bringing us here tonight to hear these two wonderful speakers who've been able to, at first hand, appreciate the work of Hizmet and bring that message to us. So on your behalf, I'd ask you to put your hands together to thank the speakers who've entertained us here tonight.